Hi everyone, and welcome to our webcast today, Building Bridges Using Autodesk InfraWorks 360. Our speaker today is Michelle Rasmussen. Michelle, I'll pass things over to you.
Excellent, thank you. So today, like she said, we are going to be talking about building bridges using Autodesk InfraWorks 360. My name is Michelle Rasmussen, and the content that we're going to be going over today is coming to you from the InfraWorks Fundamentals Training Guide that I just put out in July. So specifically, we're going to be talking about Chapter 10. This is an introduction to the bridge design for InfraWorks 360 module. So to be able to do what we're going to be doing today, you do have to have that module of InfraWorks 360. For those of you that aren't familiar with how InfraWorks works, you have the suite product that is just a InfraWorks Lite, basically, that comes with your Autodesk suite. And then to be able to design roads and have those the capabilities of setting design parameters to your roadways, you have to have the 360 product, not just the suite product. And then on top of that, to be able to do the bridges, you have to have purchased the bridge design module. So I just want to make that really clear because I don't want someone to think that they can do what I'm doing inside of the InfraWorks that comes with the suite, okay? So today we'll talk a little bit about the different bridge components when you design a bridge. We'll add some bridges to a design road, then we'll edit those bridges, and in the end, we'll actually go ahead and do an analysis of the bridge line girders for their structural strength. And at that point, when I actually hit the option to run the analysis, we can go ahead and break for some questions because it does take a little bit of time. It goes out and it processes that analysis out in the cloud for us. So our goal today is we are going to add bridges to the design roads where a design road either intersects a river, a ravine, or another roadway, or possibly even a railway like you see in the screenshot here. Bridges are very complex objects inside of InfraWorks. They have a lot of different components that come with them. Very first is the bridge deck. When you first put in a bridge over a road, you have a bridge deck, and that's how you control where the bridge begins and ends. And then you have the abutments, of course, at the beginning and ending of the bridge, and girders going across. You have the concrete caps and the piers. And even below the piers, you've got the bridge piles and the foundation that fall below the terrain surface. So you can see they're very complex objects. And the wonderful thing about that is you can adjust those different components independently. So when I'm actually ready to design a bridge, first thing you have to do is you have to have a design road. This can't be one of those sketched-in roads or conceptual roads. It has to be a design road using that design road module of InfraWorks 360. So once you have that, you can then select that design road and right-click and tell it to add a bridge. So you can see when you right-click, you get this little flyout, and you can choose the option to add a bridge. Or in the in-canvas tools, as long as you have that bridge module, you'll see this option for bridges in your in-canvas tools, and then you'll tell it you want to create a bridge. And you have two options. You can use a concrete precast bridge or a steel plate girder bridge. And then, of course, when you start drawing in that bridge, whichever command you use, it'll give you the option to set the starting station. When you see the little in-canvas tool fly out, you can type the station in here for the starting station, or you can select the station with your mouse in the model. Then, of course, you can tab over to set the length of the bridge, or tab over again to set the ending station. Whichever way you want to go about doing that, you have both of those options. And what happens is it puts these little gizmos at the beginning and ending station of your bridge deck, showing you where that begins and ends. Now, before I start talking about modifying those bridges, let's actually go over into InfraWorks, and I'll quickly show you how I go about creating that bridge. So inside inside of InfraWorks, I have, let me just show you my layout here. I have a little development. This is just a fake development that I've designed in Utah County, Utah. So this is Utah Lake right here. And we have a subdivision coming in with some roads and, of course, a little school for the new neighborhood. And then to attract the new residents, they want to attract a really active crowd of people for this new residence. So the developer decided to put in this whitewater park for people to go to the lake, encourage people to go to the lake, and then actually come in and have water pumped up so they can come along the stream and then right back down into the lake. But of course, we need a parking lot to support that, and to get to the parking lot, we do have to cross a bridge. This road that I have here is a design road. In fact, when I select on it, you'll see that the road asset card appears. First thing you need to make sure of is you need to be in the edit mode of geometry, so for that road. And only when you're in that mode can you then right-click on the road and tell it to add a bridge. So you can see, let me just zoom in a little bit. You can see that gizmo, and I just left-clicked, and it went ahead and it puts the starting station right there. If I don't like where I put that starting station, since it's highlighted in my flyout tool, I can actually change that. So if I want to change that to 1300, you can see it went ahead and moved it on back for me. If I need to go back even further, I can put in 1250. You can see it just keeps on moving it back. When I'm satisfied with the location, then I can hit the Enter key or I can hit the Tab key, and it will allow me to tab over to the length, so I can type in a length, or I can tab again and type in that station that I want. And of course, I can always just do things visually since we're talking about a quick design. So I'll just go ahead and click right about here, and it's processing that information. It'll show my bridge deck, and what's happening here is I've ran an analysis in this model before, so it's automatically hiding that bridge deck for me. If I hit the Escape key, it'll go ahead and show me what that bridge deck looks like. And also, since I've played in this model a little bit and I've used a bridge style before, it's automatically putting in the last style that I used. But if I were to go into the in-canvas tools and tell it that I need to design or add another bridge, when I click on one of the options, if I hadn't already put a bridge in before, it would be prompting me to select a bridge style. So it would actually bring up a dialog box of all my bridge styles and allow me to pick from that. But again, it's defaulting right now to the last bridge style that I used. So let's talk a little bit about editing that, because I might want to change how that bridge looks when you're going across there. So there we go. All right, so when you're working with your bridges, there's a couple of different ways that you can modify them. One way is to modify them using the bridge asset card. The bridge asset card allows you to modify the style. It allows you to change the number of piers that you are using on the bridge. I can up the number, lower the number. I can take all the piers out, in fact. And then, of course, I can change the clearance envelope. And that is basically this box that you see right here, this purple box. And that's allowing me to see how much clearance I have under that. In the asset card, I can actually change the height. But once I change the height, then I need to right-click on the bridge and tell it to update the vertical profile, because until I update that vertical profile, it doesn't do anything to the design road that it is falling within, okay? Now, when I have the bridge selected, the first thing it's going to select is the bridge deck. And when I select the bridge deck, you'll see this cylinder type gizmo that appears. Now, I can use that gizmo at the beginning or the ending of the bridge to change where it starts and ends. When I select a pier within the bridge, so I have to select the bridge first and then I can select a pier, that will allow me to move the pier using the control gizmo. I can also rotate the gizmo, or rotate the pier by using the rotate gizmo. So in fact, if I don't want my pier crossing my stream like it is in this image, I can rotate it and make sure that it goes along the stream and make sure I am blocking as little of the water as possible. Because again, this is going to be a whitewater park. We want to be able to allow those paddleboarders and kayakers to be able to flow right under that bridge without hitting into those piers. So let's actually look at how we can modify the bridge in InfraWorks. There we go. All right. So when I select my bridge, the first thing it selects is the road. So you'll want to left-click on it one more time to select the bridge deck. And again, my deck is disappearing because I've already run an analysis on it. And once you run an analysis, that bridge deck will hide itself just to allow you to actually see the girders. So now I can select any of my options. When I click on a girder, you'll notice that a girder group asset card appears. And I have two types of girder groups. I have internal groups and an external group. And when I click on the image in this asset card, it will actually show me what all of these dimensions are, okay? So since I'm looking at my group right now, it's telling me that I can set the gap between my girders, my end gap, my start spacing and my end spacing. I can also change the strength, and these are in kilopounds per second. So if I want my strength to, if I know the material I'm going to be using has a strength of, let's say, 9,000 or 10,000 pounds per square inch, I'll just up that. If I know it's 10,000 pounds per square inch, I'll type in a 10 there, because again, these are in kilopounds per square inch, these measurements, okay? So I just type in the material strength, the strength transfer, the tendon strength, and the initial pre-stress percentage. And that will adjust accordingly. Now, that's when I have an entire group selected. When I click one more time, it's going to select just one girder. And when that one girder is selected, you'll notice that I can change the type that it's using right up here. If I click on the type, it'll show me an asset card that shows me all of my different types. And let me change it to something that's really obvious. I'll change it to this type. And all I did is I double-clicked on the type, and you can see it changed that one girder in my model so that it's much bigger than all of the rest. So you can see it's really nice functionality. In fact, when I go in here, when I zoom in from a different angle, you can see the plate that it falls on, everything, okay? So very, very complex objects the bridges are. Now, like I was saying, when I select a pier, now I had to select the bridge first, and then I had to left-click again to select that pier. It does have the control gizmo, so I can left-click on it and move it along the bridge. So maybe I need it closer to the bank. And it has my rotate gizmos, so I can click on my rotate gizmo and change the angle of that, so that way I can let rafters go through without an issue. As I change that, notice that my girders are also changing. So this one lengthened, this one that I changed the style, it went ahead and shortened. So it's cutting across that pier for me. When I go ahead and click on, let me escape here and just select my road and then my bridge again, when the bridge deck is selected, you'll notice that my piers are set right here in the attributes of the bridge deck. If I want to add another pier, I'll just click on the number and I'll put the up arrow until I find the number that I want. Oops, It's trying to change on the fly. Let me change that back down to 2 here. There we go. And I'll hit enter to make it take. There we go. So now I have 2 piers. I want to probably move this one over to the side a little bit more, as well as rotate it. So let me just go ahead and do that. Rotate it along the stream, and I'll move it over towards the side. Okay, so that's looking a lot better. I think that'll be a much more structurally sound bridge. Maybe I need to change where this bridge falls, though. If I do, let's move this asset card over. I'll just select my start gizmo and move it along that road. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Now I don't have my the grading from my road coming down and hitting my bank. I think it'll be a much more stable bridge design. I may also want to move my end of my bridge back. So I'll move that. Now the next thing I want to do, I was talking about my style. If I don't like the style that it's using, I can use the asset card to change the style, or I can actually bring up my style palette. So here's my style palette, and I will find my, oops, someone changed. I think WebEx might be interfering. There it goes. Okay, past it. So here are my bridge styles, and I can choose between my concrete, my steel girder. I can also change the road styles that I have available. Here's my street bridge deck. And when I choose the deck that I want, all I have to do is drag and drop, just like any other style inside of InfraWorks. So if I wanted to turn this into a 2-lane bridge, maybe with a sidewalk going down the middle or something, I can just left-click, drag, and drop that right on there. It's going to update my bridge as well as change the transition lengths in here. So you'll notice when I select that bridge, let me select that one more time, you'll notice that even though my bridge starts right here, I have a little bit of a transition between there. That's because it needs to transition from that 2-lane or 4-lane road, actually, with the median in the middle, to my 2-lane road at the end here, okay? That might be a little bit big for what we're doing, so I may want to push that back. Oops, that's going to go to my girders. Let me hit escape here. There we go. Now it's escaping. And drag and drop that back in. Even though I'm changing the bridge deck, it's not changing the piers that I put in before. So keep that in mind. I have different styles for my decks than for my piers and for my girders. All right, so the last thing I want to show you when it comes to modifying is if I select one of my girders, I can actually right-click on it and go to Properties. Now this first one is actually looking at the girder group, and you can see that I can change the depth of my exterior girders separate from my interior girders. All the other values here, though, I cannot change. Even though my little image shows me what each of those measurements represents, if it's grayed out, that means I cannot change it. But if I need to change my exterior girder depth, I can go ahead and type in a 5. And of course, remember, whenever you're working with your properties, you always want to click Update to make it take effect. Okay, so now that we have our bridge set, the next thing we want to do is actually run an analysis. When we run an analysis, it's going to verify the structural strength of the concrete bridge girders. You'll actually be able to see the results in the model, and when we just view them in the model, you don't need to worry about having any cloud credits for that, but if you'd like to run the full report, you do need some cloud credits. So first off, run the analysis. Once the analysis is done, you can go ahead and select the girders, and it will tell you that the analysis has been run. It'll show you the analysis in an asset card, and at the bottom of that analysis asset card, you'll be able to get the full report, okay? So let me show this to you again in InfraWorks, and once I tell it to run that analysis, then we can open it up for some questions while the analysis is running in the background. All right. Should escape, there we go. So our bridge looks pretty good. I think everything is pretty close. I may want to move that pier over or something like that, but I think it's pretty close. Now, to run the analysis, I want to go into the in-canvas tools for my bridge and then choose the analysis option, and I'll run the line girder analysis. So I'll click on that. It's going to ask me in the asset card to select my bridge. So I'm going to come over here and click on my road and then click my bridge. And you can see I can set up some information. So if I want to go into look at the more analysis information, it will actually bring me into the InfraWorks help, which is really nice because it'll walk you through the information about that, okay? And if I want to change my project information, so for instance, this job name is Utah County Development, and then I have a job number. I put that in by clicking on the project information option, and it brings up an asset card. Let me just move it over so you can actually see it. Here's my project name, which is a whitewater park, my company name, ASCENT, my address. I can actually upload a logo file, put my username in there, my user initials, because all of that information is going to go into the report that it runs. Now, when you're running this, you can set the permissible factor as well as decide if you're going to consider harping tendons or reverse bending plots. And you want to go ahead and tell it to show the results. And I like to show that so that I know when it's done. So now I'll just go ahead and start my analysis. And at this point, Corrine, have any questions come in?
Yes, Michelle, we do have a couple that I can give you right now.
Okay.
So the first one comes from Dana, who asks, is there a way to show stationing in InfraWorks similar to alignment stationing in Civil 3D?
That's a great question. So when I select my roads or my bridges, you'll notice when I have the gizmo selected, it'll allow me to see what station that gizmo is at, but that's the only way to view what station it is. InfraWorks right now does not have a lot of labeling available. I don't know if Autodesk plans to put that in at some point or if they just want you to share your design with Civil 3D. Now, the really nice thing about 2016 is in Civil 3D, and if we have time in a few minutes, I'll actually show you this, but in Civil 3D, I can open an InfraWorks model. I no longer have to export it to an IMX. So I can just open that right up inside of Civil 3D and be able to go in and do all my labeling for my alignments and profiles and everything that came over from InfraWorks. But until you actually open it in Civil 3D, no, you can't do any kind of labeling unless you're doing maybe a storyboard where you're manually putting those labels in. Great question.
Great, thanks, Michelle. There is one other question here. Leo wants to know how you made the water look like that.
Oh, great question. So I just went in and made a style, and actually in the InfraWorks Fundamentals book, we actually go through the process of creating some styles. We create a road style, we create that water style that you see there with the white water, and all I did is I went out to the internet, looked up white water, and took some pictures of a river with a rock in it, and then applied that to my style.
That looks great.
Are there any other questions while we're waiting on this?
We do have another question here. Let me just read through this here. Is that all versions of Civil 3D that will open, or only the version that comes with a specific design suite?
You know what? That is a question I don't know the answer to. I would assume that it's any 2016, but I haven't specifically asked that question to Autodesk, so that's something I may have to get back with you on.
Okay, I'll take that was Tina who asked that, so Tina, I'll take your information here, and we can get back to her.
Okay.
And I don't see, there is, okay, another question here. Hopefully I'm saying this right. Can you skew the abutments?
Can I view the abutments?
Skew. So
yeah.
it says skew, S-K-E-W, if that's correct on here. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, I can skew those, definitely. When I select the abutment itself, you'll notice that the abutment has its own asset card as well. And I can set the skew angle. So if I wanted to change that to 45 and hit enter, give it a second, you can see that it went ahead and rotated that abutment, yes. And I probably would want it to follow my river, right? So maybe I should have put in a negative 45. Oh, now because I made changes, my results are out of date. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that on the fly. Let me run that analysis again. I would like to show you the complete analysis, so that's why I'm going to go ahead and run it again. Are there other questions while we're waiting on that?
I don't see any other ones here at this time, Michelle.
Okay, that's okay. I'm going to let that keep running in the background. The nice thing about this is I can let it run, and I can continue working. As long as I don't make any more changes to my bridge, like you saw, once I made a change to the bridge, it shows me that my analysis is out of date. But let me go ahead and close my card here and hit escape. And I'll leave this girder analysis card up. But I said that we could take stuff over into Civil 3D. Now, I'm going to be teaching at Autodesk University in a couple of weeks, and in one of the classes that I'm teaching, I'm going to be showing you how to take stuff into Navisworks as well as Civil 3D. So maybe I'll show you just a quick little preview of one little snippet of my class. I'm just going to go into my settings and utilities area of my Canvas tools, and I can export a 3D model or export an IMX. Now, if I export an IMX, that's going to give me the capability to bring that model into Civil 3D no matter what version I'm using, right? So exporting that IMX takes it over to Civil 3D. Exporting a 3D model allows me to create some files that will go into Navisworks. So it's going to create an SDX file, okay? And whether I'm exporting a 3D model or exporting an IMX file, I'll always have similar situations. So I'll start by setting the extent. How much do I want to actually take over? Let me just do a quick little bounding box. Takes a little bit more than, there we go. So I'll take about, let's take that much of my model. And that just limits exactly what you want to see inside of Navisworks. Then I can set my target coordinate system. That's always helpful to make sure we get things to line up properly. And when you're taking it across, you can decide if you want everything in one file, which is, I can set the file name down here. Mine will go to an IMX export. Or I can actually set up multiple files. So I can export my ground data as one file, my barriers as another, my buildings, all of these different items that are inside of InfraWorks. I can take each one of those out. And if I don't want my trees, I just uncheck that. No big deal. And I like to take my materials and textures and everything with it. So then I would just go ahead and click export. And once we export that, when you go into Navisworks, you can actually append that information, and when it comes in, oops, I forget. different ways of viewing things between the different softwares. But you can see, earlier I took across all my different buildings and my roads and my river and everything to that nature. And it's really nice because now that it's in Navisworks, I can do my clash detections, I can set up Timeliner. You know, there's a lot of different things that you can do once it's in here. Let's go back over to InfraWorks and see if that is done running yet. Let's cancel this. There we go. Oh, still not done. It's still running. All right, so the analysis is 7/8 complete. We'll give it just another minute. While we're waiting on that, maybe I'll go ahead and show you Civil 3D, how you bring that in as well. Let's go ahead and open up Imperial, since I'm working with an Imperial project. Oh, now my analysis is complete. Okay, well, let's switch over while that Civil 3D is opening up. All right, so it tells me that 24 girders were analyzed, 21 girders satisfy the design requirements, so I may have to go in and, you know, take a closer look at things. Also, since I've run that, you'll notice that with my bridge selected, I can actually click on my quantities. Oh, there goes Civil 3D, of course, right in the middle. Try this again. There we go. All right. So I can actually click on the quantities under the analysis in my bridge module. I click on quantities, and it'll calculate for me all my precast bridge components, my substructures. You know, it'll tell me how many steel tons I have. So that's a really nice little feature that it gives me those quantities with the bridges. Now, let's go ahead and look at a specific. Oh, you know what? I know why it's not giving me this. So usually when you show the results, it is going to give you the option to view. There we go. Now it's going. I was thinking I was out of cloud credits, but I just didn't select close enough. So you do have to select a girder, and then it'll give you the information, the pre-stress transfer, the construction staging, you know, the bending, all of that. If I want to see the full report, I click on Get Full Report, and it'll tell me how many cloud credits it's going to take. I can get the girder information. It'll tell me a little bit about the cloud credits. It's basically going to take me out to the internet to talk about cloud credits, and it'll take me out to my subscription center if I don't have enough credits. Now, luckily right now, I'm running a version where I still have this for free, so I'm going to complete my purchase, and in just a moment, it'll open up a web browser showing me my complete analysis. You can see, the one thing I like about this is it does give me my downloading results. So it doesn't just sit there in limbo. You know that it's actually doing something in the background. It's going through the process. And when you're patient, it's no problem. A lot of times I'm not patient enough, so I click on Get the Information, and I walk away, go get a drink or something. And then when I come back, it's completed. Give it just another minute here to complete that report. And there we go. So you can see, because I put in all of my project information, it went ahead and put the company name up here, my company address, the job name, the project name, so on and so forth. It goes through, and you can click on the hyperlinks in here to go directly to that piece of information about it, and it gives you your graphics, your live loading bending. So it's a really nice detailed report that you end up getting back. All right, so that is in a nutshell, bridge design inside of InfraWorks. I'm going to go ahead and turn the time back over to Corrine. Actually, before I do that, Corrine, did any more questions come up while we were talking through that?
Yes, someone just wanted to confirm they know that you're teaching a similar class at AU. Do you cover any other details at AU? Or
I did a little bit more in depth with, you know, moving back and forth with Navisworks, moving back and forth with Civil 3D. But for the most part, you know, I'm going to be going through a lot of the same information because, you know, the core content of that course is analyzing your bridge.
Okay, perfect. So I think they've signed up for that, and they just wanted to double check.
Excellent. Well, hopefully we'll still see you there.
Mm-hmm. So this is great. Thanks, Michelle. That was short and sweet. I just want to quickly point out a few things here, and then we'll get back to talking about AU in a moment. But I did want to let everyone know, if you're not familiar with our courseware, we offer it in a variety of different formats. So there's a lot of writing on this page, but basically we just want to let people know that however you prefer to learn, we pretty much have you covered. We have printed books, which we call student guides, but you know, they're for anyone to use. People sometimes think they have to be a student at a school to use them, but it's for anyone to use them. That's just what we happen to call them. So they're printed, they arrive spiral bound and ready to use. If you prefer an electronic format of your book, we have ebooks. We also have video enhanced ebooks, which are really fabulous. We take content, video content from CAD Learning, and it's incorporated right into the ebook. So we call it video enhanced ebook. If you'd rather learn and do all your learning online, you can buy a subscription to an e-learning bundle or to a video enhanced e-learning bundle, and you get that annual subscription for a year. And you would buy for the Civil 3D video enhanced or e-learning bundle, for example, you would get all the books, all the content for the books from fundamentals through to advanced, all online for 1 year, one package price. We also have instructor tools, so if you are tasked with teaching the course, these are helpful with timing suggestions for delivering the course, answers to the questions that are in the student guide, so that's something that's really helpful as well. And then if you require larger quantities, and if you needed more than 50 copies of a title or more than 50 copies in total of some of our books, your best bet is really to talk to our sales team about digital site licenses, where we give you a link basically to the courseware, and then you can go off and print the copies that you need yourself. Okay, so those are the options that we have. And on the next slide, I just wanted to point out something very exciting for those of you who are attending Autodesk University, which is coming up sooner than we can imagine. It'll be here in a few weeks. We do lots of prep for this every year because we will be going. We have a bookstore booth, so we sell our books right there on the show floor. And also new this year, we are offering for the next month our free certification material. So for those of you who want to take your Autodesk certification exams at AU, they're free. If you're attending AU, you don't have to pay for the exams. And we normally have our books available there for people to cram and to study in the lab. But we thought, you know what, let's take a step back, and it does require some planning and some preparing, as I'm sure Michelle can attest to because she has taken the exams before. So we wanted to offer our ebooks for free for a month online for you to access those and study. So we're doing this in partnership with CAD Learning, again, the folks who we use video content from them. They'll have their certification materials and video content online at that website, searchprep.cadlearning.com. I don't know if you can circle that, Michelle, on your end to highlight that URL. But if you go in there and you register, it doesn't cost anything. You can access ASCENT ebooks, and we've got the titles there that we have available for preparation materials. And you can also look at CAD Learning videos. And we'll have that running through until December 3rd. So if you're going to AU and you want to take your exams, I highly recommend that you take advantage of this offer. We're just trying to say, don't cram. If you can avoid the cramming, be prepared as you can be and check these materials out. So we'll have that.
And I think the best thing about this, Tareen, is our certification guides have the exercise files in them. So they can actually practice with the software some of the tasks that you would be asked to do in the exam. So that way, the exams are very specific. You're told to do something, you try it in the software, and then you have to give them an answer according to the results you get. And if you're not fast, you may not have enough time to finish the exam because they are timed exams. So having that practice will be highly beneficial.
Right. Great point, Michelle. That's a really good point. And then lastly, I just would like to point out all the ways which you can purchase our materials and how you can contact us. We really do value your feedback. We love to hear about feedback on these webcasts. We'd like to hear about titles that you would like to see us write for our next training guide. You can email us at feedback@ascented.com. We have an Ascent e-store where all of our materials can be purchased directly through there. And of course, if you want to give us a call, our phone number's there as well. And we're on Twitter, and we have a blog, and Michelle was one of our bloggers on there, so she's always putting great tips and tricks up there on